This racist tweet by a British politician has some very interesting wording. This is Ashley Simon of Britain First, and she says, "Can anyone explain why is it only white countries that are told they must be racially diverse?" That's an interesting choice of wording there, babe.
You know how much effort it takes to drown a town of people? Think about that logistically, what that takes. I want to make a series here on TikTok and call it White Black History, because as a white person, I know we don't get taught the truth. Not in America. Their bodies weren't discovered for 7 weeks after they were murdered. I'm back with another episode of White Black History. Things that they don't teach you in school, so we have to.
Hello lovelies, welcome back to today's episode. This white woman went viral after she came out to ask a question in which she left each and everyone talking. She was saying, how come only white countries are forced to be racially diverse? A lot of people came out to advise her. Where did you learn your history? You need to learn your history better, because what you are saying, it doesn't even match. Let's dive into today's episode. Drop your thought in the comment section. Then we'll come back with more commentaries.
This racist tweet by a British politician has some very interesting wording. This is Ashley Simon of Britain First, and she says, "Can anyone explain why is it only white countries that are told they must be racially diverse?" That's an interesting choice of wording there, babe. Well, why do you say white countries? Why not European countries? I know the answer to this, because if you say white countries, you can also include Canada, the US, Australia, New Zealand, countries that, surprisingly, were actually not always white. In fact, they were originally inhabited by native peoples like the Sioux, the Cherokee, the Inuit, the Aboriginals, the Maoris, and they weren't told to be ethnically diverse. No, they had ethnic diversity forced upon them at the point of a gun by Europeans. So where are the most ethnically diverse countries in the world today? Is it America? Is it the UK? Australia? Is it all those white countries that Ashley Simon's talking about? No. Lots of organizations collect statistics on this, but all of them agree that most of the most ethnically diverse countries in the world are here in Africa. And why is that? Well, this is an ethnic map of Africa. It has all the different ethnic groups where they tend to live, from the Zulus in South Africa, the Igbo in Nigeria, and so on across the whole continent. And if you look closely, you will also see these black lines, which are the national country borders. Those black lines represent a European map of colonialism that was imposed on the ethnic map of Africa. Now, that European colonial map of Africa took no account of the ethnic layout of Africa, resulting in conflicts across the continent that persist to this day. For example, Germany swapped the island of Zanzibar for the Caprivi Strip in what is now Namibia so that they could get access to the Zambezi River. As a result, the Lozi people of the Caprivi Strip have been struggling to get independence from Namibia ever since. There is so much wrong with this idiotic tweet that it's hard to actually capture it all in one video. But first of all, those white countries are not white countries, they are ethnically diverse countries. And they are ethnically diverse because of colonialism, because of people going to other countries from Europe, and also as a result of colonialism, people from other countries coming to Europe. But also, it is not only those so-called white countries that are ethnically diverse. The most ethnically diverse countries in the world are all in Africa, and that is a direct result of having ethnic diversity forced upon them by Europeans. So if Ashley Simon wants to know why ethnic diversity exists in countries all across the world, she doesn't need to post stupid tweets, she needs to look in the mirror.
After World War I, American soldiers came home really proud of the work they had done to combat fascism in Europe and, save the world for democracy. And Black Americans came home the same way. They were proud of their uniforms, and they had earned honor through their sacrifice and their courage. They came home to a wave of racial terror. The year 1919 was named the Red Summer. White mobs attacked Black people in cities across the United States. You won't be surprised to learn that it was started because a white woman accused a Black man of assaulting her. But that was just a spark in the kindling of what was already going on in the nation. In Chicago, there was a 13-day riot that left 38 people dead, men, women, children, and over 500 injured. In Washington, D.C., there were these white mobs that included off-duty soldiers and police attacking Black residents for several days. And in Elaine, Arkansas, Somewhere between 100 and 200 black sharecroppers and their families were slaughtered after organizing for fair wages. In fact, in Chicago, they drowned a black teenager named Eugene Williams for drifting over into a whites-only swimming area. When black residents defended themselves from these attacks, which was unusual because they had been so threatened before that they didn't often fight back in the days before the First World War. When they defended themselves, the police arrested them instead of the attackers. The killers were not punished. The court sentenced 12 black men to death instead. During the 20s and 30s, black farmers were pushed off their land. Sometimes they were forced to sign over the deeds to their property, and like a white mob would show up at their property and say, get out of town by sundown, and if you're not out of town, we'll kill you, we'll burn your property. Banks refused to give loans to the black community because all black people were too risky. Entire black communities lost land that their family had worked for since they were freed from chattel slavery, had no protection. The laws were not there to protect them. Then the Great Depression hit. My family was made up of poor white people in Kansas and Oklahoma. They suffered, but they got the New Deal. They got Social Security. They got things that black families were locked out of. Social Security was not available to agricultural and domestic workers. Now, who do you think the majority of agricultural and domestic workers were? They were black people. The Federal Housing Administration wouldn't back mortgages for black families in black neighborhoods. This created the redlining maps that still shape our cities today. In the book 1984, George Orwell said, "Who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past." White people, I'm asking you to do one thing. Share the information that I'm posting with one other white person so that the truth can regain control of the narrative. Next time I'll be talking about World War II and the Great Generation. Get curious.
You know how much effort it takes to drown a town of people? Think about that logistically, what that takes. I want to make a series here on TikTok and call it White Black History, because as a white person, I know we don't get taught the truth. Not in America. I'll give you an example. It would be like the Tulsa Massacre, where Black Wall Street is what we called it, an extremely wealthy black neighborhood, was beaten and burned down. Another one's like the Wilmington Massacre in North Carolina in like 1898, where a group of white supremacists just decided to overthrow the local government that was biracial and then just kill all the black people. Show me that in your history book. Or you have like the CONTELPRO and like the targeting of black leaders from like 1950 something to 1971, where basically it was an FBI initiated program that was designed to infiltrate and target black leaders, black communities, anybody who was really outspoken against things. We just don't learn these things. Like literally the FBI and the CIA have been involved in the disparagement, displacement, and eradication of black people and their wealth for ever. Then when somebody brings it up, we sound crazy because you haven't heard it in a textbook in 6th grade. Why would we teach you you're the bad guy? It's crazy. It's crazy the amount of things that we don't get taught that are actual things. There were several black towns that were drowned. Drowned. Think about that for a minute. Do you know how much work and effort it takes to drown a town because you don't like what they look like? Oscarville, Georgia, Choctaw City, Alabama, Seneca Village in New York, more recent, Cowalinga, Alabama, Freedmen's Towns in Texas. That's black-white history, though. Their bodies weren't discovered for 7 weeks after they were murdered. I'm back with another episode of White Black History, things that they don't teach you in school, so we have to learn it here. In June of 1964, 3 men were murdered. 2 were white, 1 was black, in a place called Philadelphia, Mississippi. Now, if you've seen the 1988 movie Mississippi Burning, it's loosely based on some of the events that occurred in this time frame, but not completely. So we're going to talk about what actually happened. It's something known as the Freedom Summer murders, or the Mississippi burning murders. These men were members of the Council of Federated Organization, as well as the Congress of Racial Equality. They had been working with the Freedom Summer campaign in order to get African Americans registered to vote in places where they weren't currently registered. They were in town to meet with members of a black congregation from a church that was burnt to the ground. They were arrested for speeding, taken to jail, well, technically escorted to jail. Once they were in jail, they were held for hours. They were ultimately released, and then they were followed by members of the sheriff's department and other people. Not only were they followed, they were abducted after that. The two white men were shot in the heart. The black man was shot 3 times, beaten severely before being castrated. Not only that, they buried all 3 nearby. Now, the FBI was called in, local and government authorities as well, but 400 sailors from the Navy were also called in. There was a nearby military base where they had these men come out and help search the lakes, search the fields, search the nearby surrounding areas. Now, initially they looked at this as a missing persons case until they found their burnt car in a nearby marsh. When the FBI decided to investigate it, not only were the local sheriff's department and local police departments involved, but members of the Klan. Some of this had some severe overlap. Local governments shockingly did not want to prosecute, right? They didn't go after these people. They actually fought prosecution repeatedly in multiple attempts. The federal government actually stepped in and in 1967 had 18 people arrested. They were charged with civil rights violations. 7 of those people were convicted, 1 pled guilty, and the rest all received extremely small sentences. While they were searching for these people, they found 8 additional bodies. One was a 14-year-old boy, 5 of which they've never been able to identify. 41 years after this, 1 man also was found guilty in the state of Mississippi. He was tried and then he was charged with 60 years. He ultimately didn't make it out of the prison, and in 2018 he kicked the bucket. Now, you might be wondering why I chose to film this here. Often in my comments I see or hear things like, that was so far away, or it's so long ago, and it's truly not. The racists are still here. Now, you might be wondering why I chose to film this here. To be honest, I often hear in my comments of my videos that that's so far away or that's so long ago, and it's truly not. It's less than a grandparent away. For some of us, it's an actual parent's distance. The racists are still here.
When you try to hear this white woman trying to express herself, she couldn't understand why only the white countries are forced to have racial diverse. A lot of people couldn't even understand where this white woman read the history, because we talk about like these white countries, Canada, UK, America, Australia. These people has never had any racial diverse. They were even mixed even before that modern migration. Even when we go in Germany, in France, in Spain, they were mixed. People kept migrating among each other from country to countries, sometimes like by economic, financial, by humanitarian helping. These people were migrating here and there. If you are saying that they were never racial diverse, you are lying. You couldn't even convince anyone that you ever heard about anything about your history. When we are talking about racial diverse, it was Africa who passed through that, through this. When we are talking about racial diverse, only talk about Africa, because this is the only continent who suffered a lot in the hands of these colonizers. During colonization, these European, after they came in Africa, they forced African people with different ethnic group to live together. They went in Germany, Berlin, they draw maps of Africa, they draw borders, they bring that idea, they force African people to live together, either they have different beliefs, culture, and traditions. They force people to stay together, even people who were never related. These things brought a lot of division. These things make a lot of people having a conflict, because there is no any way you are coming in a certain country, you are putting a border. You are forcing these people who were there to migrate to this other border. And yet these people, they were different. They were having different culture. Try to imagine the trauma these people came through, and you are just there saying with your ignorance that only white people, they have racial diverse. It doesn't even make any sense. No wonder when we are talking about these things of racial diverse, and you try to go deeper in the history of Africa, this is something which is still bringing a lot of conflict. A lot of white African countries, they are still claiming their borders to bring them back. You have heard in Ethiopia and Eritrea, after they bring that border, their people were forced to stay in Eritrea more than 50 years without moving to Ethiopia, because that's how the border were. And the people were forcefully to go separated from their loved ones. And you are just there saying only white people. This white people, the country, they were inhabited, they were empty. People were moving from Australia to Spain. People were moving from UK to America to Canada. There were no people there. And when you are sitting there trying to say that but they are forcing people, different race, to come to your country, they have never even any country in Europe or in America who were having a unique ethnic group. No, no. We have never something like that in history. No wonder this time around, people need to learn more about their history. White people need to learn more about their history, because this is something which is caused a lot of problems. When black people came out to talk about their history, how each and everything happened, some people are still ignorant to understand, but it may help you in one way or the other. No wonder some palm-colored people, they still have this mentality of racism because of the false information they fed them. They are still going with it, they are still trust it, they are still believe it, and they are still using it against the people of color, which is something which is still making a lot of things going worse. No wonder black people are still screaming, you need to dismantle this system you build to go against our lives. We are still the victim of each and everything. When we are talking racial diverse, we are still seeing a lot of black people being harmed, being hurt in these white countries. And you are just saying because black people would come to Europe, black people would migrate to Canada, they are not allowed to stay there. How many Irish people who stays in America? How many Spanish who stays in Canada? How many Indians who stay in Australia? And when it is something connected to black people, you don't want them to migrate in those countries. You are trying to say that they don't have any right to stay there. And we've been seeing you migrate a lot in your white countries from one place to another. You just want only white countries. It will never happen. If these colonizers were not moving with different groups of people, we wouldn't see this mix of people here and there. You remember the time they came in a certain place, these people they used to bring these things of humanitarian, and these things of humanitarian they used to say it was helping them to bring a lot of people in their place, and at the end of the day they will start to having a big community among themselves as a white people. That's how they started to infiltrate in different parts of the world and started to get mixed here and there. Especially in Africa, that's how they managed to colonize Africa. They brought Christianity, they brought Bible, saying we are bringing each and everything good on you. You need to listen to what we are telling you. We are going to help you. We are going to improve your lives. We are humanitarian. We are volunteer. We are good people. We are missionary. But see what they brought in these people. See what they cause in African people. See the harm which is still affecting each and everyone till death. And when people talk about it, some people they say, no. Why would you always use black history as excuse? Why you can't leave us alone? White people always what they say is the truth, but they can't agree that they reverse the history, they erase the history. No wonder this time around, when we see white people coming out to say, no, we are done with our people. We are done of each and everything they kept telling black people. We are done the way they lied about the history. This is the results. Guys, let me know what you think today's episode. Drop your thought. Then see you in my next episode.